All right, I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to make a survey for our project. I think the easiest way to do it is to go to Google Forms. So if you open a new tab in Google, scroll down there, Google Forms, and then you want to go with a blank form right here. Now, I'm going to make one, but I also have one that's already created, so I can show you some things there. But your untitled form, let's just call this one practice. You would call it whatever you're doing, but I'm going to call it practice survey. And if I click here, it'll title it that too. And then I want to put questions in. And what I think we need is multiple choice questions. For this survey, I think this would be the best way to go. So if you have a question here, whoops, I didn't need to do that. I already had a question, but that's okay. So I have this question here. I'm going to go multiple choice. So I want to get some demographic information. We want to have some stuff about the age of the individual, the grade they're in. So I'll just put, what is your age? And in my options, I'm just going to go 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, now you want to make this a required question. So I'm going to hit required right here. That way they have to answer this question. Okay, now if I want to add another one, I already have this untitled question down here, so I'm just going to click on that. In this one, I'll put, what grade are you in? And then again, it's a multiple choice. We'll put sophomore, or excuse me, freshman, sophomore. Okay, and then again, I want to make this a required question. If I want to add another question, I just hit add question, and it'll put it on the bottom. Now, I could add a bunch here, but we don't want a bunch. We just want a few, but we want some demographics. So I'm going to go to my other one that I've already created. And I see some punctuation mistakes on here, but how old are you? Okay, I put those on there. Okay, what grade are you in? What is your gender? I think those are good ones to have. And then the questions you're asking for the survey. Now, I don't want a lot. Mine, one question, if it fits in my survey, is on the average, how many hours a night do you spend studying or working on homework? And then give them choices here. The choices don't have to be what I have, but give them some choices. I think it'll make it easier if you go multiple choice than if you go short answer. And then notice if I would have just said studying, then they may have said, well, wait a minute, I don't study for a test every night, but I do homework. Does he mean both? So make sure you have your question written in a way that makes sense. Same thing with, like down here, I put, how many days have you been absent for school this year? Okay, so what is absent? Does absent mean missing one class period? Does it mean missing the whole day? And I don't care what your definition is, but whoever is taking this poll, the survey, should know what you're talking about. So for mine, just arbitrarily, I said 4 class periods. But that way a person, understands. If you're asking a question like dealing with social media, how often are you on social media? Or how many hours a day are you on social media? You might want to define what social media is. So then you could say, by social media, I mean, and give Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, make sure that they know, and do you mean if somebody is gaming and they're talking to somebody else, do you consider that social media? And if you do, then you should include that. You want to make sure that they're answering, they know exactly what the question is. Okay, so you will write out your questions, and there won't be a lot, just a few on demographic stuff that are important here. And then, probably just 3 questions, maybe 4, of the data that you're looking for. Okay, after you've created your survey, so let's say this is it, and let's say I've added the rest of the questions that I want here. The next step would be, I'll go to settings, and we want to restrict it to the state K-12 center, and then we want to limit 1 response. Do not collect email addresses because this is going to be anonymous. Okay, and that's the only 2 things you need to have here. Okay, and then we'll hit save. Now, when it's time to give it out, we have to be able to have some way to do it. So the next step here is we go send. Now, we could email it to people, but we don't want to do that. So I think the easiest way is to do a link. So we'll click here on link, and it will give you a link here. Let's shorten the URL, and then we'll copy that. And what I'm going to do on that is you will then give me that link. You probably email it to me, and then I will put it on my web page. For example, on the sample survey here, I included that on the web page under project, so it's just sample survey. And then if a student was going to take that survey, they would click on it. Now, because I've already taken it and I have it marked that you can only do it once, this is what I get. If I hadn't taken it, it would have given me that survey and I could have taken it. Now, let's say that you're trying to figure out your responses here. Well, here's what you do. You'd go to responses, and then they have them graphed out for you here. So, since I was the only person who took this, there was only one response. How many people are 18 and older took this? Well, only one. But obviously, if more people took it, so you would have that age range, which you want to include in your paper. Okay, how many people took your survey, the age range that they are, male and female. Okay, and then on the average, how many nights a week you spend studying. Now, this doesn't help you a ton because it doesn't show how many hours a night you spent studying, and then what kind of grades you have, and those might be things you want to compare. But what you can do is go up here and you can view responses in sheets. And if you hit that, we'll see here. So this person spends 1 to 2 hours a night and their GPA falls within 2.5 to 2.99. So then I can start charting that out. I can start recording that data, and that takes a little time, but here's where you can start getting that information. And then from that information, then you'll chart that, and then you'll start analyzing that data. And that's our next step. But that's how we will create a survey. People will take the survey. We'll give them a link where they can take the survey. We want it to be short, so it doesn't take them very long to take the survey, and then you can get your data there. So that is how we will create a survey for this project. I will go through this stuff in class. But here's a tutorial in case you have forgotten.